Hi, all. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Tuesday, February 13th, 2018, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at a special time at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. A special shout out to our guests watching us from the Street View Trusted Board on Local Guides Connect. Our guest today in the virtual WGAN TV studio is Charles Armstrong, product manager at Google. Hey, Charles, good to see you.
Likewise, great to see you, Dan. Thanks for having me on here today.
Oh, you bet. I'm so excited to visit with you. I haven't seen you in person since the 2007 Google Street View Summit in Tokyo, May 2017. And that was just an amazing event, Charles.
Yeah, we had a blast. It was great news to share and some really exciting success stories from our community.
So much news that you announced 4 different certifications for cameras, software, apps, devices to connect up to Google Street View. And then 18, if I counted right, 18 different companies, camera companies, software companies, all making announcements about being certified for Google Street View. Very exciting.
Yeah, their preparations, they were announcing their intentions, and we've come a long way in the last 6 months getting all of those ready, and very, very excited to be sharing those with the world very soon.
Yeah, I don't even know how you could top the 2017 Google Street View Summit in Tokyo. What do you got planned for 2018? I think you wanted to be on the show today to make some announcements about
yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, the 2018 Google Street View Summit.
So this year, the focus is going to be a little bit different than last year. Instead of focusing on individual camera and software partnerships, we're more focused on opportunity. So hosted out of San Francisco and Mountain View in the Bay Area here in California, we're going to first start with a message keynoted by Ray Kurzweil. He's a renowned futurist and also lead engineer here at Google. The message is really to take a step back and say, 10 years ago, would most people have anticipated where Street View would be today, what the opportunities would be to use Street View in a very empowering capacity across so many different industries? As we look out another 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, what does it mean to have an accurate world model that you can mine for data as you help contribute to it, as you empower personal decision-making, community and companies to make more informed and confident decisions, even at a country level? So we're going to follow that up with an exciting talk from Andrew Lookingbill, who heads a lot of our machine learning efforts inside of Google Maps, and then ultimately our VP of engineering at Google on the Google Maps side, Louise Bariso. And so ultimately, it should be a very inspiring first half of the first day, followed by some success stories from some of our contributors in the field, some of the exciting ways that they're using this technology. We will be making a new announcement about a new certification standard that really advances the state of the art pretty significantly beyond where we are today. But again, it's more really about opportunity and new ways to use this technology, and a little less about the cameras and the software this year versus what you saw last year.
So the theme would be summed up as
looking out the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. I had made a note early about how Google Street View imagery can power decision-making for organizations. I hope that's a fair way to summarize it.
Yes, yeah, that sounds good. I like your version better than mine. You're very eloquent, Dan.
Charles, so just to follow up on that, how Google Street View imagery can power decision-making. I think we saw some hints of that in Tokyo in 2017. I recall a speaker talking about traffic and saving lives.
Yeah, the International Road Assessment Program, I think, provided a very eye-opening presentation on how having access to this imagery is empowering countries really to identify where they need to invest more resources in the maintenance of roads, and that's having a measurable impact on life-saving in those countries, saving lives in those countries. That's an exciting one example, right? And so we're more interested this year in exploring more of those opportunities and really helping people understand the full potential of having this type of world model at their fingertips. It's hard. Google doesn't really make its own corpus available for machine learning mining. But when you create your own imagery, that opportunity does exist. And we really want to explore that with the folks in attendance this year.
Mm-hmm. Would there be other examples to point to of how Street View can help governments, business? Yeah.
Yes, and that will be fun to share with you at the summit this year.
Okay. Fair enough. That said, I could imagine. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I actually do see occasionally, I think even this past few months, some Google Street View branded cars driving by. But as far as I know, in many markets, either the imagery doesn't exist
Mhm.
or is out of date.
That's right. Yeah, and there's a lot of value in extending that without giving precise examples that we'll be sharing in the Bay Area here in a few months. I can speak to more generally some of the opportunities. Right. Not only can you obviously build exposure for an area, increasing tourism and local business opportunities, you can support the public works efforts. Local cities may be trying to take stock of trees, road networks, light poles, any type of local infrastructure, and having an, like I said before, really an up-to-date index of these things in the world is extremely valuable. And we have never before been in a position, really the world from a technology perspective, being able to scan the world's surface and take stock of these things. And we are right now on the cusp of that. And it's pretty exciting if you think about it. We have an index of all the music and photos and documents in our lives. But the world is about to have its own index of all the things in the world. And I think there's a lot that we can do to help humanity and business when we have access to that type of index.
So, in thinking about our guests that are tuning in today from Street View Trusted Board, Local Guides Connect, and the We Get Around Network Forum, our communities are professional photographers that are making a living with 3D, VR, 360. And I think there might be some hesitancy, say, oh, well, gee, this is just so above me, talking about how governments or businesses or non-government organizations can benefit from Street Map, but Street View. But when I hear you talk about it, I get so excited because it actually seems like this is going to create that much more demand for professional photographers that can contribute to Google.
Well, I really genuinely believe that. So when, as the world gets more and more accustomed to having this world model that doesn't necessarily just exist in this traditional Street View capacity, but it exists as spreadsheets where you're taking stock of things. I mean, it exists as a base layer where you're designing new gaming experiences and supporting future versions of augmented reality and who knows what else. It's going to be important to not only be able to canvas exterior environments, but also interior environments. And we have, from the very beginning, believe very strongly that the trusted photographer community is one to really be empowered and supported and celebrated as being really at the front lines of this new revolution in imagery that's taking place. And so the more we can help connect the dots between big industry and individual businesses, the more we can help connect photographers to significant economic opportunity.
So perhaps even with some of the devices coming down in cost, I know even our community, even earlier today, a photographer posted about, gee, it just seems like it's just becoming the barrier to entry to becoming a 3D VR 360 photographer is dropping in price.
Yeah.
But I think and you've spoken to this a number of times between the democratization and what that means. Perhaps this is like even just a good time to sum up Google's vision related to Street View and touch on this idea of democratization and why that's actually good for professional photographers, our audience.
Well, I mean, I think I could draw parallels in almost any industry. Anybody can buy a piano, anybody can buy a paintbrush, anybody can, buy any number of different ways that we create works of art. And I believe that these tours are themselves still works of art. Simply having access to tools does not make someone more proficient than another. And so as we make access to the tools more ubiquitous, we give an opportunity for true talent to shine, and not just having access to the $3,000 that it takes to buy a good camera system. And so it's been really exciting to see that happen, because good photographers, good storytellers are really beginning to see this as a true new medium that they can get their hands on, that they can take people through spaces to understand the essence of a place, not just a virtual tour of it, not just photographs of it. And it's not necessarily always about aesthetics, right? There's a lot that you can learn from this imagery beyond how beautiful it is. And so that's been really exciting to see that blossom. And I think that we're really just still really in the nascent stages of this medium, really. And it's hard for me, right? Because I live in the future. That's my role here at Google, being a product manager, is I have to be anticipating where the industry goes. And as you know, Dan, all too well, I've been claiming for the last 5 years that these 360 cameras were going to make the industry more accessible, that they were going to improve in quality. And I think there have been a lot of naysayers that said that this revolution wasn't really going to happen, and we'd always still be carrying DSLR cameras. And I love DSLR cameras. I think they're a great approach to creating these tours. But as the equipment has proven to become more accessible and higher quality, it certainly has not caused the industry to fizzle out or dry up. Quite the contrary, it is driving more and more interest. More and more platforms are supporting 360, and I think that will continue to be the situation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Charles. I think as you were talking, I'm thinking about the focus of Street View Summit is changing to a different audience. Where I remember being able in Tokyo having many professional photographers. I think what I'm hearing, and maybe you could describe a little bit about who you think that because the 2018 Google Street View Summit, like the 2017 Summit, are by invitation only. And I would imagine that you've shifted your focus a little bit about whom would be the ideal candidate to be attending this conference.
Yeah, so I mean, I think if we were having a capacity of 1,000 attendees, we'd probably handle the situation differently. But we've got a capacity that's much, much, much lighter than that. And as a result, we feel that it's best to really seed the industry to drive this excitement in this medium at a level that is at sort of the country level decision maker type of scale. And then ensure that we empower our photographers to kind of keep pace with supplying the necessary photography support to capitalize on that opportunity. So this year, we are shifting a bit of our focus on the audience more to the type of decision makers that I referenced. But there will be no shyness away from celebrating the community as being an excellent resource to come to when they have that interest. And we're still welcoming interested prospective attendees to register, and we'll be having a waiting list that we can tap into as seats are available.
Mm-hmm. I could imagine that for the professional photographers that are watching WGAN-TV today, that where there might have been some, gee, I wish I could go to this. Sounds like a terrific event. I think I'm hearing a little bit more like, for professional photographers, identify the community leaders, the person that's at head of the economic development in a community, the people that are responsible for tourism development, the people that are responsible for roads and bridges and infrastructure. Any potential client to be able to help understand how to leverage Street View, that's actually a business development opportunity for photographers, not to come themselves, but to identify either their clients, potential clients, that lead into how Google Street View imagery can power decision making for organizations. And so those are really the organizations that you're looking to attend.
Absolutely. Also, it's been brought to my attention that this summit falls at the same time as the International VR Photographers Association Summit this year.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure we heard the dates on your dates of.
Oh, I haven't shared them. That's a good point. So the dates for the Street View Summit 2018 are May 30th and May 31st. May 30th in downtown.
I'm sorry.
May 30th in the Mountain View area and May 31st in San Francisco.
Okay, and that's a Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, May 30th, Thursday, May 31st, and you're actually going to do two locations.
Right, and it's different content each day. So we're providing the G buses, the Google buses, to help people commute between the two locations on the 2 different days.
Okay, great. So those dates, I think you were starting to tell us about
Yeah,
a
they
conflict.
overlap with the IVRPA, the International VR Photographers Association conference, the annual conference, and that's something that a conference that we're continuing to be very supportive of. We've sponsored as long as I've been at Google, and we've been participating in those as long as I've been at Google. I think it's a great opportunity this year. If we're not able to extend an invitation at the Street View Summit to join the IVRPA. We're hoping that we'll have a condensed summary of our announcements at that conference. We're still working out the details with the committee there on the IVRPA side. But either way, there won't be a lack of enthusiastic sharing of new news at both conferences.
Mm-hmm. So if you're a professional photographer in this space and you're top of the game, it may actually make more sense to go to the IVRPA event.
I'm not trying to dissuade anyone. I think we've got a couple of great options, and we're all friends, and we're all part of the same community. So there will be plenty of opportunity to learn about what's new.
Okay, that sounds great. And for those that are actually interested in, say, well, I hear that it's by invitation only. It's a free conference, but you got to be invited. Um, uh, um, we've just published a link moments ago in the We Get Around Network forum where it's possible to fill out a form to be considered to be invited to the conference.
Yeah, great. I would love it if folks that are interested, please fill out the form, and we've got a team here that will be taking a look and trying to oblige as many requests as possible.
Terrific. Charles, anything else you want to chat about?
No, I'm thankful that we had this opportunity to share the news over the WGAN network, and look forward to seeing many of you out here in the Bay Area.
Terrific. Charles, thanks for being the guest on today's program.
My pleasure. Thanks, Dan. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You've been watching a discussion with Charles Armstrong, product manager at Google. I'm Dan Smigrod with the We Get Around Network Forum. You've been watching WGAN-TV live at 5. If you've missed any portion of today's program, we have recorded it. We will make it available in the We Get Around Network Forum. Charles, one quick class request, a little selfie we all do with our guests here for our thumbnail. Okay, I'm not doing it right. Great. Thanks, Charles. Good to see you.
Likewise. Cheers.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. See you at the summit in 2018. Okay, bye-bye.